what we've seen in the last few months is really a validation of what we're trying to do at Notional and kind of the value proposition for DeFi as a whole. I think that, it's been a big stress test, and we've seen that that all the DeFi lending protocols came through very well, and the centralized protocol, centralized companies, had a lot of trouble. So, in one sense, I think that there's been some amount of recognition of that fact by the broader market. I think that I think that that's good, and that bodes well for DeFi in the future. I do think that it's been kind of surprising what's happened. Because basically DeFi hasn't seen an influx in usage or funds, and I think that that's. So I think that the market consequences are interesting, because on the one hand, there's a lot of money that's sitting in DeFi protocols that's earning very little relative to what can be earned in CeFi. And I think that perhaps that is sort of a tacit recognition of the fact that DeFi protocols are seen as less risky. But what you haven't seen is, borrowers coming over from CeFi to DeFi, which I think has been kind of, I don't know if it's been surprising. I guess because a lot of the biggest DeFi borrowers are actually the companies that went insolvent. So in some senses, I guess it shouldn't be surprising. But a consequence of that is that what you've seen is the spreads between DeFi rates and CeFi rates have widened dramatically, because basically what's happened is there's been a massive contraction in credit in CeFi. So very few people are willing to make loans, and there's still all these people that want to borrow. And so the lending rates in CeFi have gone up dramatically. And at the same time, the people who've been borrowing on DeFi have not all of them, but many of them have gone insolvent and have had to close their loans out. So DeFi rates have gone down and CeFi rates have gone up, right? Which is just and now there's just this huge gap. And, I don't expect that to persist forever, but it's certainly an opportunity. And yeah, I'm not sure how that gap will be closed, but I do think it will sort of over time. Yeah.
Who do you see that as an opportunity for, if you see an opportunity there? Or what do you see the opportunity being?
Well, I'm basically if you're a lending business, I don't know why you wouldn't borrow on these, borrow in DeFi and lend in CeFi. To me, it seems just obvious. I think I think some people are doing that. They're not doing it in enough size to close the gap. I think there's a lot of that trade has a lot more capacity than the amount of capital that's willing to do it. Yeah. And so I think that, some of the reason why people aren't is potentially regulatory uncertainty, or they're scared. And then there's also just people are just generally quite a lot of people are still very uncomfortable with DeFi protocols. And the companies that were the most comfortable, like Celsius and Exo, again, are no longer using DeFi because, at least Celsius is bankrupt, right? And so I think that there's a tremendous opportunity for some centralized lending business who's able to sort of plug into the demand in that market to utilize the spare capacity in DeFi. Yeah, and I expect that to happen at some point. Yeah.